Joining me now from Washington, CBS News consultant Robert Carlin. He's an expert on North Korea and also a former intelligence analyst for the CIA and the State Department. Robert, thanks so much for joining us. You note that Kim Jong Un's message isn't primarily to the U.S., but also to his government. What was the message you think he was delivering here?
The message he was delivering to his people was everyone's going to have to buckle down and do more with less, because there's going to be an extended stalemate with the United States. There's not going to be a deal. Sanctions are going to stay on, and in fact, tensions might rise.
So let's say Kim Jong Un decides to no longer negotiate with the U.S. What do you think his next move would be?
Well, first thing he wants to do is get his house in order, and he's issued a lot of instructions to his people to get ready. Once that's ready, he might decide that it's time to take a big step and show the United States that he's serious. There's a lot of speculation on that. Could be a missile launch, could be a nuclear test, could be launching a submarine, could be a variety of things.
I want to talk to you a little bit about sanctions. The administration's always touted that these crippling sanctions on North Korea are working. One would assume that those could get worse. Let's say if Kim Jong Un goes rogue. Kim Jong Un goes rogue. Do you think that's a possibility? Is Kim ready for that and for that type of pressure tactic?
Well, he's not ready right now. That's why he gave this exceptionally long speech to 1,000 assembled officials to tell them to get ready. He rode up the mountain on a white horse to demonstrate to his people that he's made a big decision, and the big decision is they're going to have to tighten their belts. And the reason is, as I said, there's not going to be any more talks with the Americans. This is not a tactic. This is serious stuff as far as he's concerned. And the question is, when in his mind is he ready? When in his mind is he ready for new sanctions, tougher sanctions, and maybe even something worse?
What surprises me, Robert, is that experts who have followed this trajectory for years were not all balking at the president for trying to take some sort of a different stance. They acknowledge at some of them that this wasn't working, so maybe you try a new tactic. But at this point, President Trump's efforts towards North Korea, have they been a failure at this point? Have there been any inroads made?
Has there been a failure? That's the question.
Is this a failure?
Well, yes, by all means. It was an enormously important effort by the White House. It might have worked. Kim Jong Un just wasn't open to extending the discussions to see how far they'd get. He's impatient, somewhat. He may have been insulted in Hanoi, and he decided throw the baby out with the bathwater. And now we got to see how he's prepared to react if we decide that we have to increase the pressure.
So neither China nor Russia say they want North Korea to get a nuclear weapon. How do you think this latest message from Kim will impact their relationship? Will it affect that at all?
I think Kim has already calculated what's going to happen if he increases the pressure and takes a big step. And as far as the North Koreans are concerned, the Chinese can go fly a kite. He's been through this with them many times. As far as he's concerned, they're not reliable allies. And as long as they'll stick with him, that's good. If they decide they're not going to stick with him, too bad for them. In his mind, he's going to do what he has to do to protect what he calls the dignity of his country.
So, Robert, as someone who watches this region closely, what would you say you're looking for in the coming months to see if there's any sort of potential for some sort of a different path forward with North Korea?
You mean from the North Koreans?
From the North Koreans, yeah.
Yeah. I say we've got to watch to see if they start responding and heating up the rhetorical atmosphere with the Americans. They've been very quiet for the last 2 weeks, even though American officials have issued a lot of high-level statements. If they start responding again and the rhetorical atmosphere starts to heat up, it could mean that they're starting to move towards a real serious action. But again, I think it's a little bit might be a little bit early for him to do anything really big. Yeah.
Fascinating hearing you reading the tea leaves. I want to thank you very much, Robert Carlin, for joining us.
Glad to be here. Thank you.
Thank you.